All right, so we're live.
I need a refill.
Go for it.
Okay.
She's pouring.
It's a little dark, right?
Don't
No,
blame
from
us
this
for
side.
the ranting and the raving.
No, from this
Or
side.
is it just phone case?
There you go.
There you go.
But the thing is, I don't want
No, it's just not.
That's way better than
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Someone on already?
Yeah.
Hi.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Woke Wednesdays. Oh.
Oh, so we can watch ourselves. Okay, cool.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Woke Wednesdays. Can everybody see us?
You're just worried about yourself.
I actually don't care if they don't see me. That's not a thing.
Here, move yourself.
I don't.
As he scoots it that way.
Right.
No. I was trying to hide the bottles. Ali, can you click that little thing? That light?
Is this one on your page or is it on the Woke
That's on Woke
Wednesday
Wednesdays
wine
page.
night. First ever.
Welcome.
Oh, there it is. This is
Is that better?
No, not really.
No.
I think it's fine. I think
Okay.
so. Yeah. These lights are gonna get hot. No.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
Turn that one off.
and
That
the
one's doing
thing
well.
is, you can see us too on here. See?
Turn that one off.
So we're good.
That's doing
Ask
nothing.
them. How about the
Look, we can.
No, we can see it. We're good.
Alright.
We're good.
Yeah. I would turn that
Turn
light
it
off though. It's not doing anything.
See.
It added nothing.
All right, y'all. So welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. Tonight's Woke Wednesdays. First time ever we have a panel of amazing, brilliant individuals. I'm so excited. Thank y'all for being here tonight. Thank y'all for tuning in. So y'all want to introduce yourselves real quick? Just kind of tell us who you are, name, last name if you'd like or not. What do you do like with your life? And then we'll jump into it.
It's a really deep question.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep it simple at first, and then we're gonna complicate it. So, who would like to start?
I'll start. Hi, my name is Eileen Cruzetta. I'm a flight attendant for JetBlue.
Look it up.
Nobody passes.
Hello, I'm Laura Zamudio. I am currently both a student and a professor at FIU.
Hi, Andrea Hechea. I am a social worker for an agency associated with DCF.
Hi, I'm Patricia Medina. I'm currently a student here at FIU.
And I'm Herson. I'm also a student here at FIU. So thank you for tuning in tonight. It's Hispanic Heritage Month. All right. For a whole 30 days, we get to talk about ourselves. Right. From September 15th to October 15th, and it was kind of started to celebrate at first Independence Days of most of our Latin American countries. One could argue that we're still not independent, but that's another conversation. Yeah, so I thought it'd be cool to have a panel of Latina women tonight. And we're going to ask the question, kind of the overall question is, what does it even mean to be a Latina woman? What does that even mean? So, to start off this conversation, I'm going to begin to ask, and y'all, if this is your first time tuning into Woke Wednesdays, feel free to ask them questions. I have the iPad right here, so I'll be looking at all your questions and I'll be reading it off to them. Feel free to make comments. We'll make this interactive. And if y'all have any questions for the audience or comments, please feel free to also tell them or ask them. So, where are y'all from ethnically? How do you identify ethnically? Whoever would like to go first.
I'll start again. Again, my name is Eileen. I am Dominican and I am from Rhode Island.
So both of your parents are...
So both of my parents are born and raised in Dominican Republic.
Were you born in DR as well?
No, I was not. I was born in Rhode Island.
Okay, Rhode Island, cool.
I am I'm Mexican. I identify as Mexican. Both of my parents were born in Mexico, but I was born here in Washington State.
So we're already getting a comment about bring her back. I'm not sure who they're referring to. The show just started. Ray put a heart on here. I guess that's for you.
Bring her back. Where'd she go?
I don't know.
That hashtag when I was on, somebody like hashtag bring her
Yeah,
back.
bring her back. They do that when they're like, they agree
Maybe
to.
all of us. Just bring them back.
So
We'll be back.
we're gonna see how this goes. We're gonna see how this goes first before we start bringing people back.
Right.
All right,
To
so
be continued.
right, so both of your parents are from Mexico.
Yes.
Well, you weren't born there.
No, I was not.
So where were you born?
I was born in Washington State.
Okay, cool. Yourself?
Well, I was born and raised in Miami. My father is Cuban, and my mother's from the Dominican Republic. So.
Awesome.
I was born in New York, but I was raised out here in South Florida, so New Yorkers don't go down my throat. No, my birth certificate says so. But my parents are a weird mix, so I like to state that. My mom's Ecuadorian and my dad's Dominican, and they were both. My mom's from Ecuador, my dad is from the DR.
All right, awesome. So, next question would be, how do you identify racially? And Eileen, first, you like it?
I don't think we've had enough wine for that.
We can pour out some more if y'all like. That's really okay.
Racially, I identify as black.
Black, okay.
I think I've struggled with this because it's not something we really talk about. I used to go to Mexico every year, so it wasn't something we talked about. Like, what race are you? You were either from Mexico or you weren't. So I would say in school they taught us to identify a lot as white Mexicans. However, I think that's changed a lot since I've gotten older. And the other day I was asked to identify, and I said more Native American, but I was thinking in terms of like indigenous, because I know my mom's side, my grandma spoke indigenous. So then I could identify there, but I also think that can be very offensive to my half sisters who are Native American and are part of a tribe here. But I'm just kind of thinking through that.
For sure. I didn't mean to laugh at you, but
So
someone on
sorry.
the phone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
that was the feedback from the live video, but I guess it would be obvious that I identify as black, but I am mixed racially, extensively so. But I do identify as black since it's the more, I guess, it's the thing that I relate to the most.
This hurts me. When I'm checking that box, I'm like, well, crap, I'm white, I guess.
Check all apply.
I'm just like, I guess white. Sometimes they don't have the other box.
And you're basing that off of your skin color.
My skin color, yeah. Because I'm just like, they have it. I'm like, it just doesn't fit, you know. They have Native American Indian. I'm like, my family's not really Indian, you know. I'm like, I guess white.
And I think this is one of the things that also gets back at colonization, right? One of the reasons that all of you identify as Latina women, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Right? But you all look, I'm not including myself in this. Y'all look racially different, right? From a phenotype standpoint. And this can be dated back to colonization, Europeans, slavery, indigenous.
Point, what we were discussing earlier, I was mentioning to them, Crash Course History on YouTube, amazing videos. I made the fortunate mistake of going into the Latin American episodes, and it's one of those episodes that you're going to have to watch like 3 times because it's so overwhelming. Like, at one point our countries are colonized by Spain, but they have a French king. You know, it gets so complicated, and like the revolutions, like what really happened, and like, oh god, I could talk about it forever, but I really can't because it's so overwhelming. But just like our history itself makes it so hard to really say like, what am I? And being mixed is even harder because like South American and Caribbean, 2 completely different cultures, even though they're both Latin.
And our histories too are relegated to an elective, right? So if you want to learn about this stuff, it's not like we don't teach this in school.
I was just about to say that it's good that you're actually learning about it because we don't even know what our history is if we're counting on American history or what is it, civics or
your parents'
US
stories.
history. Yeah,
you know.
We can't even look at the news and get something that's happening in Dominican Republic. We have to go to Telemundo.
No one cares about Puerto Rico anymore. It's over.
Nobody cares about Puerto Rico.
The president doesn't care about Puerto Rico anymore, right?
Yeah.
We
Mexico.
care about Puerto
Who cares
Rico.
about Mexico, right?
Right.
2 earthquakes.
Hashtag
3
Puerto
earthquakes.
Rico.
3,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then the migration was a lot more, I guess, I want to say that it was more prevalent, and especially in the Caribbean. For the Caribbean, yeah, people bouncing back and forth, like, have Jamaican family members who, the reason why, were Cuban, because Jamaicans went to Cuba to work on the plantations, and that was the thing. It was easy to jump on a boat and go back and forth.
So here's a question for you, and I might ask it at the end, but it's kind of tonight's question. Like, to you, like maybe when you were growing up, what did it mean to be a Latina woman? What did that mean to you? Like, how do you understand that? Because all of you are coming from, 3 of you share a Dominicanness, right? But also from very different parts of the country, different
Struggles.
So how do you? So starting with Eileen, what does that mean to you?
I think growing up, being a Latina woman, being Dominican, meant I grew up with 7 aunts and 1 uncle, and although my grandmother was the matriarch of the family, and she had her own business, which is different because a lot of Dominican women do not own their own business at that time. I grew up just knowing that the woman was the person who held the house together. We made sure they made sure their husbands were all set, and the kids as well. And I think family was just the overall value that I knew from beginning to end. So our family was always in the same house, maybe from like Thursday to Sunday, because of the business, but also because of the fact that birthdays were really celebrated, and a lot of anything that happened within our family, we stayed close knit. And so for me, being a Latina woman when I was younger, and even now, family is like the biggest thing that I can think of.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. So I would say for me, you asked like, what does it mean to be a Latina woman?
Yeah. To you, what does that mean?
So growing up, I grew up privileged in a 2-parent household, but I think when I think of my mom, I think of a very selfless woman, like a woman who just gives everything and anything for her children, for her husband. So I think of my father as the head of the household, and then my mother, right, like the second. If I were to like think of it in hierarchy, I would think as my mother and like below my father, because that's what it felt like actually. Because everything my dad needed, he would go to work. My mom would cook, my mom would clean, my mom would take care of us and help us with our homework if she could. So that's what I just think of, like a selfless woman, someone who's willing to do anything and everything for anyone, especially males.
So before we get to you, I just want to read some of these comments real quick. Kathy's saying, I took my ancestry DNA test, and as a Latina woman, it is very clear that being a Latina has a lot of history behind it. It showed I was a little bit of everything.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Really are.
Ray said something interesting. He said, interesting enough, men share the same battle. I asked him for elaboration. I don't really know what that means. Ariel saying, y'all fancy for drinking wine.
We left the boxes out.
Guava Goddess.
It's out of a bottle.
Guava Goddess. Yes, Laura. She's telling you to speak your truth. Utter Kill saying, that's cool, Kathy. I've always wondered about that site and how it worked. Is it based off database, public records, and they're having a conversation. Okay. Ray is saying, battle of determining what to identify as nationality versus culturally. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Ooh,
yes.
Right?
Nice.
Right.
I wish I could like a comment or something.
That's tough.
We like
also,
it, right?
we're like in a setting
It's
of
like
like the United
hearts,
States,
right.
which I'm sure we'll touch on later, but like in the United States, like what's being a Latina in the US? What's being a Latina
But I'm
like
glad you did ask both of
Yeah.
those questions, because
I do what
it
I
is
can.
really hard.
I do
to
what I can.
determine.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I believe you're next.
And I just wanted to start it off with a quote that what Eileen and Laura were touching base on. This is actually a Mexican proverb I got from Criminal Minds, don't judge me. La casa no descansa en la tierra, sino en la mujer. The house does not rest on the ground, but on a woman. And that was definitely, in a nutshell, especially my mom's side of the family. My mom was extremely independent. My grandmother, extremely independent. She raised everybody in my family, in my mom's side of the family. My dad's side of the family is that more the man is the head of the household, but then again, I had a father who was very supportive of my decisions and very extremely supportive of my independence. So I think the common message in both sides of the family is you have to be strong, you have to be independent, don't rely on a man. And he always liked to tell me, it's like, I'm the only man that's gonna love you for free. He didn't lie about that. He did not lie about that.
We're gonna get to that. We're definitely gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. They're saying yes for criminal minds. Yeah. So we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get some more wine, and that's before we go there. So Patty.
Well, like growing up, so I grew up actually like my mom was a single mom, right? She was kind of like left here by her first husband, right? He just kind of like dipped back to Ecuador and like didn't leave her word, you know. She was with 2 kids, didn't speak the language, nothing. So I grew up with my mom's story, right? And then like she met my dad, and they had me. And then my dad and my mom and dad divorced, so like I grew up with a single mom with like all this struggle, you know, and like hearing her stories from Ecuador, hearing her stories in the United States, and then seeing her as an example, right? To me, that's like what a Latina woman was. It was raising 2 boys on her own, and my brothers, not that I'm biased, but they're exceptional men, you know. They're They cook, they clean, they're caretakers, but they're gentlemen and everything. So for me, it's like if I could be half of my mom, I'm good, you know. And I feel like I'm still working on it. I think being Latina is very, you know, we have the stereotype of being fierce, sassy, all that stuff, but there's kind of a truth to it because, I mean, you know, our countries, like, they struggle. They go through a lot of warfare. They go through a lot of civil war, you know, between people, and you have to be strong. That's my thing. Like, you always have to be strong, and you have to be 2 steps ahead, or 5 steps ahead, really. And I feel like in our culture, everyone thinks like there's machismo, right, which is a huge problem.
I don't know what that is.
You know,
we'll get to that too.
but like our countries, you know, they have 3 institutions. It's patriarchy, Catholic Church usually, and really like the Spanish colonizers. That's what we all have in common. So patriarchy itself, it's like you view it and like it's usually saved for submissiveness, but Latin women really aren't that submissive. I feel like all your stories, I'm like, I feel that. So I was raised, to me, being a Latina woman is like being strong.
So can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So you said something right now. Being a Latina woman is not being submissive. But many of your stories that you said right now had a type of submission within there. Like that kind of seemed to be a theme. A little bit of submission, but a lot of sacrifice. But in a way, what do y'all think about is submitting sometimes in a way also a form of like
it's definitely strategy.
Strategy maybe, yeah. Like what do y'all think about
you
that?
Need
what do you think about
you
that?
need to pick your battles. My mom always says this, and you know what? Men may not like this, but my mom's always like, men are kind of like children. You're always gonna have to raise them. And I was always like, Mom, I'm not raising you. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not raising anyone but my kids, Mom. You know. And then I started dating and stuff, and there was like, I remember I had an ex-boyfriend.
So we're not gonna get into this. We're not gonna get into this right. We're not gonna
No,
we're not gonna get into this. We're gonna talk about it.
We'll get the men to talk about it next week.
Right.
You'll get the men to talk about it. No, speak your feelings.
Honestly,
Speak
like,
your feelings.
No, it's not nothing like against men, whatever, they're children. No. It's just like we think a little bit more strategic.
I agree with
You know,
that,
like
yeah.
I feel like your mom like has a type of wisdom that your father just doesn't have, and your father has a type of wisdom that your mother doesn't have. So as a woman, adopting that type of strategy and saying like, yeah, I'm gonna sacrifice this and I will do these things for you. But what was that quote you said from the Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Was it called it the
Yeah.
man may be the head, but the woman is the neck, and she can control.
The man may be the head, but the woman is the neck. You know.
So I'm not agreeing with a lot of what you're saying.
But-
It's okay.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm
Go
trolling.
ahead.
I'm trolling. So Lana has something to say. Go ahead.
I want to I think women do strategize because I saw it. Like the older I get now, the more I see it in my mom because when we were younger, she really wanted to keep that 2-parent household, and so for her, she was gonna do anything and everything because that was her mindset. Like if they have a 2-parent household, they will be raised right. And the older we get, like once we turned 18 and we were going to college, the more fierce my mom was getting. Like she was not taking anything from my father. She's like, okay, you want to do this? You want to go to the bar? Do it, but you're out of here. So then, like, one of my friends really made me think about it. Like, do you think it's because now you're leaving the house? And she's like, my daughters are very independent, so if you want to leave, do your own thing. So I feel like in that sense, she was very strategic.
Right.
Like, I'll be submissive and I'll do some things for a while, but once my daughters are gone, you can leave and make your way out.
I'm sorry, just to piggyback on what both of y'all are saying is, I think women have to be extremely strategic because men are not required to. They're not much, and especially in our cultures, men are. It's like, here you go. I mean, they're not to take any away from our male friends and companions. Is that there are those stereotypes, there are those points that you have to reach. However, the doors are open. For men, the doors are open. The women have to be strategic in order to even get by. And like we may be first generation or what have you but we struggle with that whole, at least I do, with that strategy and independence. It's like I still have to be strategic. I'm a Latina woman. I have to be strategic because in a growing population of Latinos in the United States, we might have left those cultures at home, but they have definitely evolved into something else in the United States that still requires that strategy because men still have more open doors than women do.
Quick point. I completely agree with what y'all are saying. I think I'm a feminist in a lot of ways.
It's four against one, you know.
You better be a feminist.
Right? But to your point though, as a Latino man, we oftentimes don't think of ourselves as a privileged group of beings. We're oppressed, right? And sure, we're oppressed in certain ways. I'm not denying that. But we, to your point, to all of your points, we live in a patriarchal society that's literally made to benefit men, no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? Anything, like, doesn't matter. Like, it's made to benefit me. And that's one thing that I wish more men understood, especially Latino men, black men, whatever, racialized men, whatever we're talking about. Yes, we might be oppressed in some ways, but we also do have a privilege, especially when you're also heterosexual male, cisgendered men. Like, all that stuff goes to your point, which I think is a great point. All of your points. Real quick, some comments. Ray saying, do any of you experience your siblings identifying as something different from yourself, even within the same parents or mix? I think he's talking about culturally and racially.
Oh, that's a good point.
Can we go Eileen first? Since she,
That's a great question. I have about 10 siblings, so I do have the range. Right. Well, I come from a blended family, so I do have the range from light, like her skin color, and I'm probably the darkest, or maybe one shade darker than me. But yes, I do think that some of my siblings may identify as the white, as I identify as black.
like racially white.
Yes. Definitely not Dominican, because we're all fully Dominican, even though we are blended from blended family. But I think that some of my siblings may be considered they consider themselves white. I don't agree, but
Yeah,
that is what it
that's
is.
a huge problem though with the Dominican culture itself, right? We share an island with Haiti. We went through a bloody civil war. We kind of put a little border in there, and we were like, all right, now suddenly we don't have blackness with us. And it's not like that, you know.
Yeah.
It's just not
Definitely not true.
I mean, we're all part Dominican, and look how differently we look, you know. So it's very frustrating. I know for my eldest brothers, both of them were born in Ecuador, and I remember they turned 21, and we also have a 14-year age difference. So there's a my worldview is a little warped, but I remember learning that they weren't citizens. And I was like,
that's another layer.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
That is, yeah.
Yep.
You know, and I actually felt jealous of them. I was like, you guys were born in Ecuador. That's so cool, you know?
Check your privilege right there.
Yeah. And then my little brother and little sister, they're from my dad's second marriage, and they're half Puerto Rican, half Dominican, and they identify as American. And I'm just like, wow, fat, no. You know, you're halvesies at the most.
And all this is very interesting because we're getting into labels and categories that are so socially constructed, so created by human beings, and so relative to a particular moment in time. So all of you might identify as Latino women, and then you go back to your home countries, and they might identify you as an American.
Yeah.
So now things change,
Everyone.
right?
Yes.
No, yeah.
It's
Real-
not the American.
No, but
Gringa.
ironically enough, if I go to the DR, the first thing they identify me as is, are you Haitian? That's not the first. And are you American? No, tú eres americano. You're American. That's not the first question I get. It's like, oh, you're Haitian, right? And I'm like, as far as I can tell, deep into my roots, none of my
No,
but I want to say even regardless, is that entire island is Hispaniola. You know, there's at least 90% of the Dominican culture is of Haitian descent, at least at one point in time.
Yeah.
However, my family immigrated from other Caribbean islands before they made it to the DR. So if I say no, I'm not Haitian, but it's impossible. You can't possibly be a Dominican woman and be that dark.
Which is interesting because Dominicans wouldn't have their independence without the Haitian Revolution.
Exactly.
Right.
But you try to tell them that.
Right. I might. So real quick, Utter Kayla saying my mom did the same thing. Didn't leave my dad till my sister graduated from high school. I think
I feel you. Kayla? I feel you, Kayla.
Kayla's also saying my sister has no melanin and bright red hair and is hood as fuck. And I think Utter Kayla, I think you identify as black. Let me know if I'm wrong. Or what? I actually don't know. And they're laughing because y'all are making fun of men. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So, did you have something you want to say?
So the other day I was talking to a good friend, Brittany, and she was asking somehow it came up how I identify, and I said Mexican, but I think back, I used to go to Mexico every single year, so I'm okay, that's why I identify, because in school I learned of this patriotic American, this picture of like American. And I was like, that's not me.
Mhm.
I don't do all that. That's
Yeah.
just, I'm not racist. I don't feel, I mean, I'm not racist like that. So to me, I was like, I'm Mexican.
That's a different
So to me, I was like, I'm Mexican.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, but when I go to Mexico, I'm there 2 to 3 months on vacation. So I'm not really there to struggle with the Mexicanos. And they don't
Yeah.
see me like a Mexicana.
Yeah.
So I'm like, should I be saying I'm Mexican American?
Yeah.
Should I? Because at the end of the day, I'm not there for the earthquake.
Right.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff they're going through.
Sure.
So
Right,
who
yeah.
gives me that? I'm privileged to say I'm Mexican and not even be there. So I've been thinking about that a lot, like within the last week since we had that conversation.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up because you said that you're there for vacation. When I was growing up, there was some of my friends that every time that they, like if anything happened here, and actually one of my siblings as well, and they were like bad in school or something like that, the
They get
threat would
threatened?
be you're going to DR, and it wasn't a threat, it was a promise, and they had to go to DR, and it's kind of like, what was it for? To instill the
Like
heritage in them, and like you
the
know
old
to
school beatings.
you know
Yeah, my
take
mom
away the
used to
first
threaten
world
me, she's like,
problems and throw you
"Oh my
in the
God."
jungle.
One quick thing, you're talking about, and I think both y'all make interesting points about that, but also in our countries, so the United States is very like nuanced concepts of race. Like we talk about race, hyper racialized, right? Latin American countries, though, yeah, they have racial mixes and all this stuff. We talk more about class. We look more at poor people, right? Well-off people. So a place like Mexico, there are some very well-off, rich white Mexicans, and this is and it goes
And
for
that
all of
go-
our
yeah.
countries,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely a deal.
So that,
But that's
and,
usually what it is. The lower it's easier to talk about lower socioeconomic status than the darker people.
You
Yeah.
don't talk about people.
absolutely, it's like coded language in a way.
It's
Right.
it's what's it called? Polite.
Yeah. Yeah, and none about this. Nothing about this is polite at all, and it shouldn't be. Real quick, Ray is saying, I think you all battle more than one struggle, being a woman, being a Latina,
1,000.
which kind of gets that
Yes,
intersectionality, right? You have
1,000%.
multiple identities,
Yeah.
right? And he has a great question. Which one do you feel has been the biggest struggle, being a woman or being a Latina? Whoever wants that first.
Honestly, I think being a woman, because you put us in the context, you put us in whatever culture, and you get a different treatment. You know, because being a Latina woman is different, right? It's just different than being an American woman. Being a Latina woman in America, raised as an American, gets confusing. But what's the common denominator? Is being a woman. I think so. You know.
I think I'm gonna bring in a different perspective into that because I had a different experience. I think it's because not only do I identify as a Latina, I identify as an Afro-Latina. I'm very, very proud of my African. I'm very proud of all of my roots because without all of them, without the struggle, without the chaos, I wouldn't be here. You know, but I am very proud of my African roots in the sense where, and then come in this country, it's I can identify as myself as a Latina, but 90% of the people that see me won't identify me as a Latina. I'm a black woman because I speak eloquently, I have an education, and so of course, if you don't have a Spanish accent, black people speak Spanish. That's a question. It's like, oh my gosh, you speak Spanish? Where'd you learn it?
Yeah.
Oh, my parents. Where did they learn? Like, really, bro?
They're
So
home.
so I have a different point of perspective when it comes to it's. My Latina-ness is not exclusive of my racial identity because they're intertwined. It's a different category where I identify. It's difficult because, especially being on the Cuban side, coming from Miami, you don't see Afro-Cubans out in the light in Congress and politics with Afro-Cuban women either. You know, so it was very difficult. Because I would say even being able to identify as Latina is a step. You get a step up treatment from identifying as a black woman. So I do think that as a black woman, I have to get up the rankings to the Latinos so they can accept me, and then being accepted as an American woman. So I think I go through I feel like I went through a sub layer of conflicts just to even make it to the Latina struggle.
That was a great point.
Yeah.
That was
So just to make it to another oppressed group.
Right.
Right.
Right. You're like climbing the ladder.
For me, it's both. I think, so So I'm a rebel in my family. I'm from Rhode Island, but I moved to Miami by myself. So as soon as I got to Miami, everyone's like, "Wait, you're here by yourself? You're a Latina and you're a woman, and you didn't travel with your family. You're not living at home with your family." And I moved out of my house, of my mom's house, early, probably 16, 17. For a lot of Latina women, you don't move out until you either get married or you go to college and never come back, or so forth, right?
I cried when I told my mom I was moving out.
You
I
did?
was like, I'm sorry.
But for me, it was super hard because like I said, I have 7 aunts, and not one of them would do the things that I have done. Not one of them would have moved from Rhode Island to Miami by themselves, and then go on to college and then grad school, and then not have kids at 29. Yes, I'm 29. Valid 21.
Ain't no problem with
But
that.
it's like I'm
Life
like
don't
basically not doing it. I'm not living my life as a Latina supposed to live their life, I guess.
Right.
So, and for me, it's both. It's being a Latina
Supposed to,
and
with quote, right.
quote unquote,
Yeah.
yeah. And obviously, it's the older generations, because I know that a lot of people in my generation are same age, and they just have passions that are not necessarily family based. However, that does not mean that family does not mean the world to me, and that I not one day maybe want to have a family. But even that's a question. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that I have to just because I'm Latina.
I would say too, like in my experience, it's situational. Like if you're in a group of men, maybe like very diverse men, like it might be like being a woman is like, whoa, we're gonna like exoticize you or whatever. But then also being a group of like white women, being a Latina might stand out more than just being a woman, because you're all women in there.
Yes.
Like right now I teach a class and it's all women, and there's a majority of white undergrads in my class, and I think they even question me like, how is it that a Latina, is she even good enough to teach me how to teach math?
You qualified.
Right, like how are you here? So I think it's just, in my case, it's been situational.
So y'all getting all the love tonight.
Interesting.
People out here giving y'all hearts. Wine, wine.
Sorry.
Wine refill.
I've been empty for a little bit. I'm
I'm thirsty.
Brittany's saying, I'm here for all this dialogue. Kathy's saying, I think being a Latina in this country is a bigger struggle for me than being a woman. As a Latina in this country, I sometimes feel as being an intruder in this country.
Fair, yeah.
Ray is saying that's a big point, and what he's about to say I think is brilliant. I'm gonna have to get that in writing, Ray. He says, I was too light to be black, too dark to be white, and too American to be Hispanic.
That's a shirt.
That's. Let me read this again. I was too light to be black, too dark to be white, and too American to be Hispanic. I think that's such a great point. She could be is saying, thanks for sharing your story. Talking to you, Eileen, I guess she might know you. Other kids saying, my mom is mixed with black and Puerto Rican, and my dad is white. I think I identify more as black. Ray is saying, I would agree being a female is a common struggle for my 6 sisters and 6 aunts, and they all identify as different nationalities, but identify as a whole with struggling as a female. Kathy's saying, also, now that I moved out of Miami, it is more difficult being a Latina woman in other places that are not as populated as Miami.
Right.
Yeah, we were going to touch on that too.
I always actually really hate talking about Miami because I feel like it's such an outlier that it's like unreal here.
It definitely
And
is.
when you asked us like about how we felt about living a Latina woman, we like kind of trailed off. But I had like a reverse kind of culture shock when I came to FIU. So when I came to before FIU, I was like super proud. I'm like
Florida International University in Miami.
In Miami. I was like da da da, and I got to FIU, and like the Latin culture here is very odd because I met, no offense, sorry, but like Republicans.
You can be offensive.
Like Latinos that are Republican, Latinos that are like, they have this whiteness to them that I never understood, but they're here bumping your reggaeton and like all your artists, and we have the same culture, but you're so like almost privileged, right? And you don't realize that your privilege is a delusion because it's only for here. It's only this area.
That's a shirt too.
Yeah.
Your privilege is a delusion. Y'all out here making shirts. Dang. I would need some. Dang.
I have a similar experience.
Yeah, and like
And
I'm
after
sorry,
that, we want to move to another question.
Okay.
just like to end.
Check out the moderator. Check out the moderator.
That
Okay.
same question.
Okay.
Like, just to end,
You needed a
when I
glass
got
of
to
wine.
FIU, like I actually stopped listening to Spanish music because I was like, I don't like this. Like this is not like I can't speak Spanish to you guys because I feel like you guys are speaking Spanish for a show. I speak Spanish because that's my primary language, you know?
Oh.
It felt very weird. It was like 2-3 years.
People out here dropping knowledge tonight, okay? Yo, okay, okay.
Yeah,
It's the wine, it's the wine.
Red wine gets me good, you know? All the wisdoms of the wine.
Right.
But I agree with her.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that I had a similar experience. I used to I still do. I substitute teach at Ponce de Leon, and it's in Coral Gables.
Yeah.
Now, for
That's
those
nice.
of you who
That's
don't
nice.
know, Coral Gables is like a heavy Venezuelan
Money.
populated
That's
area,
like Coke money.
and
White
as
Cubans,
much as
elite white Cubans.
white
too.
Cubans as well, and as much as maybe Venezuela is struggling, all the people that have money there are moving to Coral Gables and populating it. So my students
Geraldo.
would
Throughout
all-
That's the main point.
yeah, and my students will all identify as Spanish white, like on the the test and everything. And I just looked at them like, you know what? It's not their fault, but this is what they're getting taught, and they are really privileged. They definitely are really privileged. And then they did, even in themselves in the classrooms, they would make fun of the other students that were a little bit darker or who spoke Spanish differently, because if you don't know, like Venezuelan has more of a different dialect than maybe a Dominican or even a Cuban does. So
All these countries, different accents.
I
Yes.
want to say one thing before you cut me
Alright,
off.
one sentence. Go
Because
ahead.
it's so important what you're saying, because it creates a divide.
it
Like,
does.
one thing I always felt, whether like before and after I went to school, always, I'm like, I'm Latina.
Yes.
Like, I'm not that American. Don't get me wrong, I'm American, yeah, my birth certificate, part of the country, whatever, it needs some help. But like, you need to know your country and feel your struggle, because those are your people. At the end of the day, those are your people. You know?
So this is all very interesting. I'm just like taking mental notes. All right,
shirts
so
and stuff,
Right?
shirts.
He's selling our
I'm about to include that in my.
I want to
page.
cut.
Alright,
Royalties.
royalties. All right, so real quick, Kathy's saying, especially when it comes to the dating scene, being a Latina is seen as exotic, and people can at times fetish that. So we're gonna get to dating. That's gonna be a question that I will ask them
That should be a
later
night by
tonight.
itself.
Right?
Some of them have to leave 10 o'clock. So.
No, it's okay. We're gonna go.
Are
we good?
You
Yeah.
did. See, y'all.
This is too good for them to leave.
See, right?
It's too good for them
And we have enough bottles of wine to last us, right?
I don't
Till
know. I
11.
think
We're not gonna
dead.
tell
Yeah,
you.
make the
Well,
one.
you only had one. You need some water?
Yes.
Okay, I'll get you one. I'll get you one. All right, so real quick. So Avicito's asking. So we want to get to this.
Suavecito.
Everybody was speaking it when you called them out on it.
I was just speaking.
So Avicito, they're coming for your life right now. So Avicito underscore. So Avicito underscore. Okay, underscore. Don't forget the underscore.
I was about to say, how do you get that name?
How do you? So Avicito, Patty wants to know how you got that name.
No, I thought you had like just suavecito, which is really hard to
No,
get.
I mean, it pretty much is just.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the question?
All right,
Get to
so
the question.
the question is, what do you women think about how America fetishizes Latino women?
Let's play a game.
That's a lie.
Take a shot at how many times I roll my eyes.
All right, so real quick before we get to it, Kathy's saying Suavecito, it feels like we're being objectified when it gets fetishized. Danielle saying, when education is not libertarian, the dream of the oppressed is to become the oppressor. And
That's nice.
Ray said he's about to meet up with us. Yeah, enjoy
Lock
that
the door.
wine. All right, cool. So we're gonna ask. I guess we can ask a question about fetishizing, but then also want to ask about what it's like to be a Latina woman, and also be academically accomplished. Want to get to that question as well. So, so fetishizing Latina women, it happens in the media. It happens everywhere. We, as Latino men, we do it to Latino women. Latino women do it to Latino women.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are y'all's thoughts on that? While I get our water.
The story I was telling you is like I identify more like with Ecuadorian, right? Because I was raised by my mother. But yes, I do have Dominican roots. I'm very proud of them, and I know about my Dominican side. So when I introduce myself, hi, where are you from? I'm Ecuadorian Dominican. The consistent answer that I always get, or response, is, you're Dominican. Oh my God, that's why you have those lips.
Oh.
Always.
Oh, not the
I'm
lips.
just like,
I believe it.
I want to cry because I'm like, yeah. Because internally I'm like, but I identify as Ecuadorian. Why would you assume like you're going to the Dominican side, which is sexy, because Dominicans are sexy, they're Caribbean, they're exotic, they're.
So, do y'all agree?
Well, I'll go last because I feel like I have a different experience when it comes to like.
And this is real interesting.
Physical.
The way women take turns is really interesting. Because next week is guys. So I feel like with them, I'm be, hey, bro, chill. The guys are we're patriarchal, right? We're more We've been
Yeah.
conditioned to be like this.
Yeah.
This is interesting from a sociological standpoint.
I mean,
You wanna
because
go last?
well, yeah, because
Would you like to
yeah,
ask?
yeah,
Yeah,
because mine is completely like I don't know.
So I think, I don't know, for me it's a little bit weird because I think that I'm conscious of the fact that it's reality, right? So whenever I get a chance to not expose certain assets that I have, I do so because of that. And that is something I shouldn't have to
What do you mean by that? Can you please be more
Yeah,
specific?
explain.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
One
what you
example.
got?
This is Woke Wednesdays. Come on.
got?
This is Woke Wednesdays. Come on.
So, I mean, like, okay, so I'm petite. I'm not, I don't have the big booty. I mean, the big boobs, but I definitely have a booty, and that's all I have. Basically, I cannot show it off as much as I would like to.
Right.
Even though now we are in, like, the Kim Kardashians and everyone's so obsessed with big booties.
At least yours are real.
Or-
Okay.
It definitely real. Definitely not getting no implants no time soon. But I think that because I know the reaction that I'm gonna get from men, and especially Hispanic and Latino men,
Whoa.
because I don't think that other races or other cultures are as what do I want to say, like.
Observe.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
no, they're just not bold as much as Latino men are. Like
yeah.
Latino men will
They
like
have no problem
literally
telling
look at
yourself.
you and you feel naked just
Yeah.
by the way they looked at you.
Absolutely.
Or if you're dancing with them, they automatically grab your ass or something, and you're like, wait, we're
Culture
dancing
they went
bachata,
there,
not
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Um,
It's very
It's,
bold.
yeah,
The way you
it's
said it,
bold. It's just bold, and it's like. It's
It's
there's a reason why it's bold because I think that Latino men are more they know what they want and they go for it.
We're gonna get to
Versus-
Latino
Yeah,
men. We're gonna get to
we'll
Latino
get
men.
there.
So I think that in general, like another thing too is my hair. I'm a little darker. Well, this is Miami. I'm really not this dark. This is my Miami permanent tan. But my hair, however, they look at me and they're like, wait, that's your hair and it's real and it's long. So that in itself, it's like, do I need to wear a bun in order for you not to look at me that way? Or, you know what I mean? Or are you just going to look at me that way regardless? Because as soon as, if I do have a bun on, it's different. I'm a flight attendant, so I have to wear either a bun or a ponytail, a high ponytail. So I see that it's difference. And even in my uniform, I don't have the tailored cut uniform. Everyone knows what a flight attendant uniform looks like, and it's usually like really, Coke bottle shape. Mine isn't that tight because I know.
Are you represent blue?
No, because I didn't tailor it because I don't want everyone to be looking just at my ass.
That's
So that's my take on that.
yeah. Y'all drop knowledge.
Someone asked something?
Real quick. We'll answer it later. What part of the DR are you guys from? We can get that later. But go ahead.
I would say, primarily it comes from men. I would say Latino men. But also, recently I've had experiences with a lot of females. Like, even going to the doctor, my doctor was like, oh, you look so exotic. As I'm getting, like, a woman's wellness exam, right? She's like, what are you? You're so exotic. And to me, I was like, oh, what? I'm actually, like, my parents are from Mexico. I don't know if that's, does that answer your question? She's like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. So it's like big right? So I was really
Right.
confused, but I was like, okay. I don't even know, like, at that point, like, what do I say? I don't even know. But also, like, when you were saying that I'm usually very covered up. Like, if I have something that's exposing, I, like, cover up. Especially when I'm teaching. Like, primarily when I'm teaching because, like, even just looking back a few months ago when that teacher who had, like, a tight-fitted dress, a black teacher,
right?
like, right?
And then someone put it on
For
her
Right.
and was like,
Right.
just your teacher.
Right, but
It's just
so to me one day, like, I wore a dress and I put like a little cardigan over, and they're like, why'd you cover up? My students were like that. I was like, oh, it's just like my bottom was hanging out, so I covered it up, and I was very honest with them. This was last week. And so then this week I was like, you know what, I'm gonna wear a tight fitted skirt. But as soon as I'm going to the board, they're like, my 25 female students were like,
see.
Can I ask you a question about that?
yo.
So can I ask a question about that?
Okay.
So I do have a follow-up question about that. Physicality is a real thing,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely.
and I think you all are addressing that it's a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you and I were having a conversation maybe yesterday or 2 days ago in the hallway, and this woman walked by with a tight skirt on, and I looked at her.
Exactly.
And I don't regret that. Because
I don't know.
people no. no, because I think this is important, because I think we need to draw lines between
Yeah.
sexism and also checking out someone because you think they're attractive,
Right.
which we're all guilty of, right?
Yeah, of course.
People will be, oh wow, they're handsome.
But
Oh,
I think the difference.
but real quick, I want to nuance that a little bit, because and y'all are right about there's a difference between dehumanizing someone and completely but there's also, wow, they're hot.
Yeah.
So how do we balance that, and how do we think about that? That complicates the conversation.
Context and intelligence, right? Because like what you were saying, like I'm half Dominican, half Ecuadorian. In my family, they're mostly full Ecuadorian, and like I have a little like more like ass to me than my cousins who are full Ecuadorian, right? So like all growing up, they're like, "Damn girl, boom, that's Dominican in you," and I'm just like, "Ha ha ha," you know. But like growing up now, I'm like, you know, like there's a
Looking back.
difference. Also, like what you're saying, I'm like, it's true, because like they hear you're Dominican, and it's like, you know, what's going on. That I feel like is more general,
Yeah.
like. I don't know.
Andrew, real quick, what do you think? Just
Well,
about this whole conversation, this part.
being black, you're taught that this is wrong and this is right. You want straight hair. Too many curves is not. I'm a plus size woman. I got both ass and chest, so that's something that I've had to. And people make you feel like crap about it. And my hair, I usually have it in a fro. My mom has straightened my hair, chemically straightened it, dehiscado, the perm, since I was 3 years old. And then when I was in high school, I was like, I hated it. It burned my head. I don't want to do it. It made my hair look amazing from what I made. Like, it made my hair look good. But I like my curls, my natural curls the way they are, and it's been a struggle because it's still that, well, let me straighten your hair, let me do your hair, let me do your hair. This is the night, you have to look like this, you have to look like that. Oh, don't get too dark. And then, and because I do get darker being in the sun, because hey, I have skin. Black people get darker. But then it's like,
That's so funny.
listen, I mean, it's just a pigmentation.
I'm a person.
But you're taught that this is right. Like, you're too dark, and that's a problem. That's going to be a problem for you because people don't like dark women. So as a Latina, it's like, oh, so I have to look like that. I have to straighten out my hair, because how many of you have seen a froed out hair on a dark woman that was not Celia Cruz and she was a Latina?
Great point.
Like it's a like and that's why I wanted to go last, because it's a completely different struggle. People are talking about your figure, people are talking about your hair, people are talking about your lips. I'm like, I am black, so I have the full lips, I have a full body, and my hair is extremely coarse. That's just gonna be an automatic thing. But the thing is, I am a Latina. We come in all shapes, sizes, and colors.
Yeah. And don't get it twisted that like I have that in my family. Like,
Right.
we go from light
This is
light
like a
And
to
that's
dark.
not the same thing with my
Yeah.
family. The same, I always tell people I had a white grandmother and I have a black grandmother. Racially I'm mixed, but I identify as black, like I said at the beginning.
So I want to ask you
That's
a
rough.
follow-up question, because I think your Latinaness is still exoticized, right? So as a black woman, right, people will find out, oh, you're also Latina. Oh, now that's sexy. Now that's attractive.
Yeah.
Right? It could be, right?
Well, the thing is, though, it's actually a lot of the times it's not seen that way, because usually when people they see me, they first, of course, they see my skin color, they'll automatically assume, oh, you brought your black friend, and then when I start speaking Spanish, it's like, oh, and then they relax.
Oh, you must do it
So
fast.
it's not even fetishized. It's just like, okay, yeah, she could be in the club. She could be in the club.
Is that
okay,
by
that's
women
not
that you get that from, or by men? Or both?
Both.
Yeah.
Usually, usually by men, it's like, oh, you're the first black girl I've ever been with, and I'm like, why am I not surprised? Because being a Latina, it opens that door, because it's like, oh, it's the culture. The culture makes it easier.
Almost like
So
sexy.
real quick, I want to read some of the comments. And let me see. Ray is saying you can maintain respect and be proud of what you have. I don't think you answered my question, by the way,
No.
but it's okay.
Who?
I did.
Utter Kayla said, I got told to change my clothes at work when I had shorts on under my dress when I was a teacher, teacher's aide. Ray said, girl, you beautiful. Kathy's saying, hey, it's not our fault. There's not enough brakes to handle our curves.
Right.
But other women have. Oh, okay. So I don't care. It's not something else. Brittany's saying men was a specific I don't know, white, light skin, long hair, curves. I think she's getting at like the stereotype of being a Latina woman. Ani is saying no such thing as too dark. Black is beautiful. Jasmine says, hey Eileen. Auntie saying Latin men love black women. I'm black, not Latina, and it's all this. That's interesting.
I'm black, not Latino. What do you mean?
I don't know. I'm just reading the comments.
No, I'm not asking her. Like, you're black, not Latino. What do you mean? Because I'm black and Latino.
So Ani, what do you mean by that? By your comment? Because she put "not" also in caps lock.
One of the comments that was said brought a memory to my head about, like, I was at work one day and I used to work at Florida Moore University, which is a historically black university, and I like my
the only
hair.
One in Miami. Yeah.
The only one in Miami, yes. And one of the oldest actually. My hair naturally is wavy. It's not curly. It's not straight. Like right now it's straight, but it's wavy. So I went to work one day, and I believe it or not, in historically black university, there was only about 5 people that were Latino out of the whole staff and faculty. And I went to work one day with my hair wavy, and my boss, the assistant vice president, was like, "Well, what is that? Your sexy look?" And I was like, "What the?"
This is a
Your
man or
wavy
a woman?
hair?
A man, older man, probably like in his 50s,
Older black man?
and yes, he's
Human
black.
resource.
And human resources is a whole other story. But but I felt like offended because my hair, like, no offense to, you know, black women and the whole let's go natural thing that's going on, because I'm all for it. I have nieces and nephews that are black, so, and when I mean black, I mean either Jamaican, Trinidadian, you know, etc. But I feel offended because my hair is naturally wavy, so I can't wear my hair natural without feeling like, oh, would you have that sexy beach look? I was like, are you serious right now? Like, and I don't know if that has happened to you guys, ladies, but I think that one of the comments that was said just reminded me of that, and I was like, wait, I need to say it because it's crazy.
I get that when I have my hair straight. It's like, oh, your hair looks so great right now. I'm like, how does it look like every other day? Like, what are you trying to say? But yeah, people prefer it. Makes them, what's it called? Have you guys seen that documentary by Chris Rock, Good Hair?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that movie was just like, yes, thank you for making that explanation. It's like people are relaxed when your hair is relaxed.
But that also
It's
gets,
not.
But even though, like, for you just said it like chemically ruined
damages,
your
yeah.
hair, and I have a cousin who the same thing happened to her, like maybe like since she was 6.
Like,
She
I
had
remember
relaxers.
hearing you explain.
So
like,
for you, natural
blackness
is
Yeah,
Oh,
just
yeah.
You're the first
Girl.
one that was like John
Yeah.
Cena with.
comfortable.
and it's beautiful.
You know?
Yes.
So we'll talk about.
But like whiteness, like one thing like hers put me on was like whiteness and blackness. So I was like, dude, why do I feel like a little different? But anyway, like when my time in India, I remember we were shopping for soap, right? We were like in like the Walmart of India, and they had soap that was like bleaching agent, you know, to make yourself lighter.
Wow.
Sammy Sosa.
It's
Yeah.
2017, you know, like you're like, who's doing this?
So real.
Yeah.
So real quick,
But it happens.
this gets to a deeper. So this is not just like, yes, we should critique this from a certain perspective. We should also, I think, go deeper. This is deeper about white supremacy. And oftentimes we use white supremacy to refer to KKK. No, it's
No,
so much more
it's
complex
global.
than that.
Yeah.
Cornel
I
West,
think
one of my
it's
favorite
very
philosophers,
here.
talks about we all have a white supremacist in us. We all do. We all do. We live in a world that beautifies and extols whiteness, the idea of whiteness, right? So the idea of having straight hair, the idea of bleaching your skin, all this stuff is historical, so historical that has been in works for centuries, right? And these are manifestations of it. So when people say like, "Oh, this is 2017," like I don't know if this shit is so, it's hard to get rid of something that's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. Real quick, I want to read some of these comments. Let's see. Katrina was asking, what Latin men are you running into? Because they don't look this way. Oh, Katrina, I love her. Ani's saying, the black Latina on the panel said she's not surprised when Latin men tell her she is the first black woman they have dated. Let me see. I don't know if you said that.
Yeah, I did.
She did.
Yeah, I did.
You did? Okay, sorry, I was reading.
Because usually.
Sorry, let me read
Yeah,
some
go
part.
ahead.
And she says, or they are apprehensive when they see she's black and relax when she starts speaking Spanish. right?
Well, no, I mean it's especially in the men point of view, it's you don't, and because their parents are the older generation, where black is not right, you don't want to bring a black woman home, and it goes both ways because sometimes you'll have like for instance, I feel like my dad would be happier if I brought a black man home? Yeah. Is that what I'm attracted to? Nah, not necessarily. But we're working with an older generation of people. It's like if I'm attracted to a lighter skinned Latino, their parents come from that place where separate but equal in their own countries was a real thing. So if I could, it's like, honey, guess who's coming home for dinner? Kind of thing would be what So that would probably be going back to that question is be the only time where it's fetishized, but it's not. It's like I'm a girlfriend but not a wife, kind of thing. Like thinking back historic thing. No, it's very real.
Yeah,
because behind closed doors it's okay.
It's
out in
even our
public,
girlfriend.
not exactly.
Yeah.
And out in public, it really isn't. Out with your family, it really isn't. Because even when you're having friends over, it's like even when if it's a friend and they're bringing them over, it's like, oh, that's your friend. Hi, how you doing? This and that. So I have to, like I said before, it's like making it okay. It's like, yeah, I'm black, but no, listen, my family from here, this and that. Giving the family tree before it's like, oh no, it's okay, you're okay, you're okay.
So let me read some of these comments real quick. Outer Kayla saying, I get compliments by coworkers on my hair only when I straightened it, but some men tell me they like my crazy natural curls.
Crazy natural.
I'm reading.
So
I'm
what's
reading.
that? What
That's what I was
I'm
saying.
just reading.
Crazy natural? No,
I
it's just
love
natural.
curls. Honestly, just saying some are ignorant, but in my experience, not the norm. I feel accepted as being black, even though I'm not Latina. Kathy's saying, I was told 2 weeks ago by a guy I was getting to know to not straighten my curls because my curls make me sexy. My hair does not define me. Ani's saying, talking to Katrina, Caribbean Latinos especially, most Puerto Rican Colombians for me.
What up there?
We're gonna get to this. We're gonna get to this. Utter Kelly saying right. I think it's got a lot to do with the exotic look and fetishizing women from different cultural backgrounds. Ani's saying I was just explaining my earlier comments. You asked me to explain. I did. And then Brittany's saying soul snaps. So Instagram kicks us off after 1 hour, so then we have to stop it and then restart it.
All right.
Is it
All right,
Is this not an hour?
it's 9:57, so it's about to be an hour and 3 minutes. I want to tell everybody that in this. So y'all are sticking around for the second portion?
Yeah. Yay.
I thought y'all was gonna leave.
I sleep at 10:30, but it's not.
No, I
Thank
listen.
you.
I'm there with you.
Thank you
I'm
so
there
much.
with you. So I was.
We didn't get to the question.
The question that we're all waiting for.
We're all going to the club after this, so feel free to come out with us.
Club bed. Yes.
Not DJ Pillows.
Yeah, DJ.
So when we come back in the second portion of the show tonight, we're going to talk about what it's like to be a Latina woman who is also academically accomplished and pursuing these goals that are oftentimes not common, right? Especially around with minority women. Even though Latina women are outpacing Latino men when it comes to academics by a long shot. So y'all are doing, but there are also historical and systemic reasons for all of this, right? There always are.
You gotta defend
There
this
are,
man's-
no,
You gotta defend
I
this
can't wait for
man's-
next week's show to be
Right.
like,
and not even that, because
I can't wait to watch
I'm down for the cause.
fake news.
Wow.
Whoa. Yo, leave 45 out of this, please.
Whoa,
Leave 45 out of this. It's not a conversation.
Someone's saying the girl with the geometric pattern cardigan is amazing. No clue who she is.
That's my best friend. Hi, pal.
Okay. Okay. Ani's saying hashtag Black Brown Love. I know you've been peeping over reading, so I've been seeing you do this.
Can we read some? Yeah.
Why
you
gotta be the only one?
Right?
Because
Is it
I'm the
he's a
moderator.
man? No, because he's
I
a
have
man?
one
Is
job.
that what it is?
So it's
You a
9:59. It's
No,
about
but
to
for
kick
sure.
us off.
No, for sure, y'all
It's
can
gonna
read.
kick us off.
It's about to kick us off. And then we're also gonna talk about what Latino men mean to y'all. Okay?
Stay tuned.
It's
That's
about to
a
get
great
juicy.
May
Stick around for
slide in
that
our
one.
DMs with
Una
hate or
basura.
love.
Okay, so I'm trying to end this thing.
Can we say trash?
And.
Mira, no,